Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Module 6, Empowerment and Top Performance. In our last session, we talked about why people work. We looked at various theories that seek to explain the human desire to be productive and to achieve. In today's module, I want to tie those ideas into how we manage in the workplace. So today we're going to discuss how managers can seize upon that desire to be productive through empowerment, how we can unleash creative energy in the workplace. The term empowerment was a buzzword, popular buzzword in the 80s and the 90s, not so much today. But the concept, as we'll talk about it today, is timeless. When the subject of motivation comes up, looking at it from the manager's perspective, you will sometimes see references to personality types. That is, as a manager, you should understand each employee's personality type and tailor your management style accordingly. This idea comes out of the Myers-Briggs survey of personality types, which is often used in management. I wouldn't dismiss this, but it takes more analysis and strategy than the vast majority of managers are willing to invest. What I'm talking about when I refer to empowerment is more fundamental, it's easier to implement, and will produce better results. So what is empowerment? Now here's my definition. It's the process by which managers allow employees to exercise their creativity, their ability to innovate, their ability to solve problems, and their ability to produce results. Let me repeat that. It's the process by which managers allow employees to exercise their creativity, their ability to innovate, their ability to solve problems, and their ability to produce results. With empowerment, you entrust your employees with the responsibility to get the job done, to achieve goals using their own imagination, their own devices, their own strategies, and their own innate desire to be successful and productive. It sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds. So when we empower employees, we provide training, we provide the resources necessary to get the job done. We provide strategic direction. In a later module, we're going to talk about strategic planning. There needs to be a structure. And we provide coaching. And then we get out of the way. We allow employees to seize the reins, to take the initiative, to discover and create for themselves how they will achieve their goals. So this slide shows a model of empowerment. Let's take a look. The empowered employee seeks responsibility. They'll take prudent risks. They'll take chances within reason. And here communication is very important. They have a personal stake in the work. They have ownership. They take ownership. It's theirs. It's not somebody else's. It's theirs. They'll make decisions. They won't come running to you, the manager, constantly saying, should we do it this way or should we do it that way? They'll decide and they'll keep you informed. They'll generate new ideas. They won't come to you and say, how can I handle this problem, or how can I achieve this goal? They may want to speak with you and work with you on it, but they'll generate ideas. They're goal-oriented. They're driven to achieve goals. They have a commitment to success. And for empowered employees, work is primary, the paycheck is secondary. Of course the paycheck is important, but it's ultimately about the work. The empowering manager trusts his or her subordinates, has faith in their abilities, will work with them and the team to develop plans and goals, will keep the employees, the staff, focused on those goals. The empowering manager coaches and helps people learn, develops staff members. He or she guides rather than directs. He or she facilitates the work process, doesn't direct the work process, but facilitates it, and certainly rewards achievement. This is the antithesis of the micromanager. The impact of empowerment: it'll motivate good employees, it'll generate new ideas, it'll help avoid problems, it'll free you, the manager, to be more productive. Very few managers are pure managers. We also have frontline fundraising or program responsibility. Management is a part of what we do. And through empowerment, we will free up more time to perform our frontline responsibilities. Empowerment will help create a healthy, productive work environment, a very healthy, productive culture, and it will provide a greater likelihood of achieving goals. So there's one other benefit of empowerment that I want to talk about. Empowerment will identify your top performers. It'll identify your top performers. There's a theory, sometimes called the 20-60-20 rule. I've seen variations of this, but it says that 20% of the employees are top performers. You should mentor them, take them under your wing, see them develop, help them grow. 60% are steady performers. You want to coach them, keep them encouraged. Sometimes these people are called oak trees. They're solid, they're reliable, they're always there. And then 20% of your employees are below average. You need to teach them or you need to replace them. But empowerment will identify your top performers. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let me mention here that empowerment is not for everyone. What do I mean by that? I mean that some people, for whatever reason, would prefer being told how to do things, when to do things. They're more comfortable not having to assume responsibility. They would rather someone else be accountable. There was a famous book written in the 1940s by the philosopher Erich Fromm called Escape from Freedom, which described this phenomenon in the context of political systems. Well, the same idea applies in the workplace. As a manager, you need to decide whether you can afford to keep someone like this on your staff or whether they might fit in better in some other place in an organization. I once had an employee that was so eager to have somebody else assume responsibility for something that she wouldn't, on her own, decide what shade of green would go into a brochure. She wanted someone else to make that decision. She was fearful that someone later would criticize the choice, and she didn't want to have responsibility for that. So empowerment is not for everyone. Now, I used to be a believer in pure empowerment. I don't believe that anymore. You as the manager are ultimately responsible for your department, and you need to keep your finger on the pulse. This includes appropriately monitoring the work of even your top performers. It doesn't mean you let go entirely, but it means it's a different kind of communication with your top performers than it is with your oak trees, than it is with your underachievers. It comes down to a balancing act. I believe I may have used this slide in an earlier module, but it illustrates the point of the slide is to illustrate the art of management, that the art of management is about knowing how to balance empowering employees while keeping your fingers on the pulse. Management is an art and it's a science. So let's talk for a moment about how do we manage top performers. And there's a picture of one of the greatest performers ever in the history of the game of basketball. Here's another one of those distributions. I don't know how accurate it is, but the point is that a small group of employees within your department will produce the bulk of the work. 20% of the employees will produce 80% of the work. So what do top performers do? What does this 20% do? Let's take a closer look. They take ownership of a task. It is theirs. They may need support, but they don't count on anyone else to get the job done. In my fundraising days, I worked with many volunteer committees that depended on the staff to do everything. And I worked with other volunteer committees that took ownership of a task or of an event, and it was the latter who were most successful. The top performers take personal pride in achieving goals. They want to achieve goals both for the sake of the organization, of course, and the sake of the department, but it is a personal matter with them as well. They take personal responsibility when goals are not achieved. They don't blame others, they don't blame the economy, they don't blame bad luck, but they take personal responsibility. Top performers will often obsess over a single failure. They'll often obsess over a single failure. I once worked with a fundraiser who was a top performer. But there was one occasion when something didn't work out and the donor became unhappy, and the donor expressed that unhappiness. And the top performer could not get past it. And I had to say to her, don't change a thing about how you go about your work. If you look at all of your successes and put them on one side of the scale, and you put this one other episode on the other side of the scale, you know which way those scales are going to tilt. Don't change anything about the way you do your work. And she eventually realized that it was her work, the way she approached her work, that was responsible for much of her success, and that she would not allow this one single episode to deter her from continuing. Top performers develop their own strategies for achieving goals. Again, it's the role of the manager and it's the role of the team during the strategic planning process to set out the goals. But then top performers will find their own path. They'll give you 100% effort all the time. You never have to worry whether top performers are wasting time or whether there's effort that is being wasted. They know where the dead ends are. They'll give you 100% effort all the time. They'll develop creative solutions to problems. They don't engage in any blame game. Rather, they seek solutions to problems. It doesn't matter what was the cause of the problem. What matters is what are we going to do about it. And of course, they develop new ideas and fresh approaches. Top performers are always thinking of new angles. They always will be coming into your office saying, I just thought of something. What do you think about this? So what do top performers do for managers? They'll free up your time to do other things. I alluded to this earlier. They'll make your life easier. They'll allow you to spend more time on your frontline responsibilities, and they are going to make you look good. They will make you look good. So how do you manage top performers? How do you manage top performers? I've already given you some tips. Let's review them. Empower them to develop and implement their own strategies within the context of the strategic plan. Ensure that they have the resources they need. Ensure they have the resources they need. They will be very frustrated if they have the ideas, the plans, and yet they don't have the technology they need, or perhaps they don't have the budget that they need within reason. You want to seek their advice. Show them that their contributions are of such a high value that you want their advice. Reward their achievements. Top performers want recognition, not so much for the sake of other people envying them. They want their hard work to be recognized by their managers and by others. They want added responsibility. They don't stand still. They won't stay in the same job doing the same thing for more than a couple of years. And sometimes, along with added responsibilities, they want a promotion. And again, they want a promotion, yes, because it's going to be a higher salary, a better title, but they want a promotion because it is the ultimate form of recognition. So what do top performers expect? Again, let's just summarize. They want freedom, they want recognition, they want salary increases, they want promotions, they want added responsibilities, they want competence around them. They will be the first ones out the door if a manager is not competent. They will not tolerate working with with incompetent people. So it's your responsibility as a manager to be cognizant of that and to create a strong environment, hire good people if you want to keep your top performers. So here's a warning. Here's a warning. Top performers may not be your best team players. They get frustrated with people who do not work as hard as they do. They have no patience for endless discussion. They want action. They often view compromise as surrendering values and beliefs. They certainly will not tolerate incompetence in their managers. I already mentioned that. And they may generate resentment on the part of others. Envy. You as a manager must have the skill to manage all of this. So this concludes Module 6. And again, as with a lot of our topics, we scratched the surface. To summarize, we discussed the concept of empowerment and its relation to the human desire to be productive, why people work, and how it is employed in the workplace. We examined what an empowered employee looks like, what the empowering manager does. We discussed the benefits of empowerment. One of those benefits is that empowerment reveals your top performers. We spent time examining what top performers do and how to manage them. I hope you've gained an appreciation of this concept of empowerment. I think it is the most powerful tool that you will have as a manager. But it's not a simple tool. It can be explained simply, but it's not all that easy to implement. It takes work. In our next module, we'll look at strategic planning, because without a plan, even top performers will not succeed. Thank you.